Hello everyone, Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and it's time for another Extra Nawties monthly roundup. Gonna go over some EPs, albums and compilations that I wasn't able to review in full, but which I still thought interesting enough to share my opinions on them with you. Shorter reviews because there's a lot to get through. I'm gonna be identifying my main points with each one, and hopefully showing you a couple things you hadn't heard of before, covering the very end of February and up to and including the 28th of March. A particularly busy edition here because the penultimate day of listening for this month, the 27th, was a Friday. Loads of new music came out. That was the Friday just gone. So yeah, the main list is pretty star-studded and a huge extra and special mentions list as well. The ones I'm talking about are covered in alphabetical order by way of artist or record label name and are all linked in the description box down below. And as I mentioned, there will be a list of extra or special mentions at the end of the video that I couldn't talk about here because then there would just be too many, but I definitely recommend checking them out as well. And so, kicking off this installment, we have the new EP from Algo, Bruiser. A pretty straightforward, weighty, larger-than-life rhythm EP here for the most part. Each tune with its flickers of brilliance, in my opinion. My favourite, though, would have to be No Benefit, the freshest in sound, I think, of the four, and the most interesting flow. It just has that little bit of extra class about it, especially with the psytrance, which I think is a bit different to usual. The usual we've got from other dubstep producers trying out that genre. Funky Fat is also pretty tasty in its delivery, so I think I prefer the second half a bit more than the first, which comparatively lacks on wow factor for me, but overall, solid. Next up, the new Advance EP, a good example for me of loving the general feel of it, quite haunting and eerie, classic bass weight I think, but not the way it's put together quite as much. It seems lacking in awareness when it comes to the construction of a lot of the drops, whether it's the idea or the execution. None of them having the desired impact for me, I think. Great sounds on show and atmosphere throughout, really good, but it falls flat in vital moments, aka the heaviest parts of it. Maybe the first double drop in the K9 collab, initially anyway, but aside from that, nothing really blowing me away here. New EP from Bear Grylls, I think, considering how vapid and skeletal I found his album from last year, this might be a slight step in the right direction. I think the production is better, the ideas a little bit more adventurous, more flavour on offer as well. Not amazing, but credit where it's due, I think. Although for all we know, it could be someone else writing the music. Just never know with him. Following that new EP from Crankdat, I've realised, finally, how I think exactly about his music. He's the kind of producer I would have loved when I started getting into dubstep for the first time, loving the variety in the ideas, the character to his music, but not knowing or having any idea at all of how shoddy some of the production is. You just can't get away from it. So much potential, but the same tale with him again, really, I think. Trying a load of stuff out, which I think is commendable, but hardly any chemistry between everything going on. It's quite messy. The middle track, Ill, is decent, but I wouldn't go further than that. New album from Dion Timmer. First few tunes here, I'm like, yes! This is going to be a sick album. It's got the variety, the ideas are engaging, and I'm really, really feeling it. And then post Midnight Zone, pretty much all of the rest of it is stuff I've heard so much of before. A lot of industrial bro step, not really pushing boundaries, and I'm kind of stuck between thinking, on the one hand it's his style, and on the other, just wanting way more variation from it. Which is why I love the rock and neuro combination on I'm So Sorry, for example, or the bits of garage on The Way She Lies. I just feel like there could have been way more of that experimentation for an album, not a lot of ideas pulling me back in either. It might grow on me, but for now, it's just alright. New multi-track collection here from Document 1, a decent D&B EP. Solid flows, well made, some ideas a little bit better than others across the four tunes. Nothing glaringly bad, but also nothing glaringly special. So yeah, just fine really. New compilation from DPMO. Yeah, this just isn't my kind of dubstep, I have to say. There isn't a tune here that I enjoy from start to finish. Same with the predecessor, a lot of it just sounds far too similar. The same ideas again and again. I just, yeah, don't find it engaging. It is an overflow of loud, in-your-face rhythm. Great moments here, to be fair, from Versa, Volterix, Funkcase, various others here and there. But I wouldn't go further, you know, whether it's the ideas or the execution. Not a lot that's impressing me here. Don't even have a standout, so yeah, just not my bag. Next up, the new Gentleman's Club EP. Not bad ideas here. I appreciate the more obvious rap and hip-hop influence we get. The more chilled approaches too. I think More Love would have to be my favourite on that note. It does need a bit of refining on the execution. A lot of it feels like it needs catching up on what's come before, if you get me. Like the sounds need to kind of be more up to speed with the ones that have come just before it, as if they're out of time with the beat a bit. The flow not quite there. Also, on a level of heaviness, I think lacking a spark where other music of theirs has had it. But maybe that was the whole point of the EP, to make it more chilled. But for me, that version of them is not them in full flow. New EP from Heritage, yeah, this is alright. Another classic of decent ideas, but the execution not quite being there, not feeling the full force of the drops. Illegal Parties would have to be mile and away the most interesting tune here for me. The snare is awful, but it's funny, quirky, alive, and of course the vocal samples are great. Diamond Chain is very neat as well, so I think I prefer the second half here more. Bottom line though, I'm happy he's getting put on this stage because I think he deserves it. Moving on, new EP from Helisex, proper monstrous, which I love about it. I think the growls are really on point, a real depth to their sound when it all works, when it comes together effectively. The introductions are good as well, but they need to run with a couple of the drop ideas here a little bit more and not go off on so many different tangents, if you get me, because as a result, there isn't a lot to hang on to here, treading the line between just being walls of noise with no real coherency between them, and really effective loud dubstep with proper direction to it. Track 3, Vortex, being for me the best example of that. Sounds returning again and again to keep you locked in, variety there, powerful production. So yeah, I would say more of that. After that, new album from Infected Mushroom. Can't say I've ever fully got into their weird, quirky, psytrancey approach, and this album is a continuation of that. Clearly good producers, their sound for the most part is rounded, punchy, colourful, flavoursome, but every song just goes off in far too many directions to be coherent in any way. And they're so long as well, you know, I find it difficult to sit through any of them from start to finish, and that isn't just this album. A couple flickers of brilliance here and there, but as a whole collection, not quite for me. Following on from there, new Kill Feed, some really, really good sounds on show here. The general flows and rhythms are great as well. I love the melodies, the glitchy theme running through it. Just a shame it doesn't have the backdrops to beef it up. I think pretty much all the drops here are without a real force and weight to them, which is a shame, but it stops it from being elevated to amazingness as a project overall for me. The case with so much dubstep at the moment, amazing stuff on top, but just don't feel the full effect of it because of the percussion. Then the new Koven album, I think moments from all 14 tunes here that I really enjoy. Not sure there's one song I love completely from start to finish, but so many moments I'm in love with and adore. A nice mix as well, I think, of chill and heavy. You have your dubstep and D&B, then future bass and ballads, which I think, again, a great mix, really well done. Needed for an album, I think, and it plays to their strengths as a duo. Moments where the production doesn't quite match up to the idea, where the vocal doesn't quite reach far enough emotionally for me, but there's so much of it that does do all of that really well, that you think, well, for me anyway, the bad is kind of drowned out in the context of the album. Plus, it's got real character, there's a sense of story to it. it just pulls you in quite effortlessly, I think. My favourite was the opener, but now I think it's either Followers, All for Nothing, or Your Pain. And on a vocal level especially, I think I really enjoy Worlds Collide, Butterfly Effect, All for Nothing, Stars, and Surely You Know. Amazing range here from Katie Koven, I think. Nice pipes, Tamika. New EP from Krishan, concept here being one song being refashioned 3 times. So an original, a VIP, a VIP VIP, and a VIP VIP VIP. It would have been great if it was a trap start, then dubstep, D&B, house, or whatever, you know, whatever genres you want, but no variety on the genre front at all here. The same vocal sample used in every tune, a lot of grating, high-pitched synth usage, distorted percussion, not easy on the ear, and predictable as well, so don't really get the appeal here. A couple of moments here and there, but overall, as a thing, not really feeling it. New collection from Malux, another solid D&B EP here. Not one of special moments or ideas, but well pieced together, and a really good energy surging through the whole thing. Doesn't get off to the best start. I think the opener Cargo is quite weak in comparison, but after that, loads of engaging, grungy D&B music. Didn't enjoy it massively on my first listen of it, but it's grown on me more and more each time after that, so yeah, check it out. New EP from Mr. Bill. I think it's taken a while for me to properly get into his stuff, but now I think I'm finally starting to really appreciate everything about his style. I think it's also one here where I prefer the second half, again, a bit more than the first. Big tip with Frequent is a brilliantly bubbly glitch hop kind of number. I love the more down and dirty vibe of Kaluna as well. But even in the first 2, although they aren't as captivating, you can still feel the intimacy and flavour of the design quite readily, I think. I've enjoyed tracks from him leading up to this collection, and I'll hopefully be enjoying them beyond this collection as well. Yeah, good stuff. Moving on, new Pixel Terror. I get the hype here in terms of what they're going for. The appeal in the current climate, I think, is quite clear. The way they meld bass and colour, I think, is great as an overall approach and what we need. But nothing really wowing me on the ideas front, I have to say. It's all fine, but nothing really that I'm taken aback by or feel like I need to go back to again and again. If I had to pick one tune here, I think it would be Bittersweet. I think it has the most going for it, vocal included. Enigma would run it a close second. Not much more filling me with excitement, I have to say, again. That being said, again, solely for what their approach is, what they're trying to do, they get my vote for sure, and I'm excited to see how they develop their ideas going forward. From there, new Samplifier EP. Question going into this one for me was how much of it would be his staple, mechanical, loud, rhythmy approach, and we actually do get a bit of variation here, I have to say, which is welcomed. Nice to see that bit of variation because I think his style deserves it, for me anyway. Ran a risk of getting stuck in that sound, that really full-on rhythmy sound, but to see him branch out even a little bit here, I think is great. The bouncy trap on Phasing I find really interesting, and even his more classic approach, which I just touched on, is more appealing for me. It feels more alive, fresher, and just more refined on the production front. But I would love to see more experimentation from him going forward, maybe some house or D&B. Anything, I can see it working, so yeah, would be cool. And also just to say, these moments on Duality are some of my favourites of the whole year so far. Oh, it's just so good. Next up, new compilation from Savage Selects, and I think, like DPMO3, I just find a lot of the tunes here to sound far too similar. I wanted to do a full review of it, but I feared that I would come across as just sounding like a broken record, because a lot of what I was saying was applying to a lot of the tunes in the compilation, and yeah, it just wouldn't have come across well, I don't think. Of course, there is a lot of great stuff on offer, and I'll get to that, but it's swamped out by the overflow of in-your-face aggressive rhythm for me, a lot of which I feel is lacking in sharpness on the production front. Having said that, my favourites come from Fugitives and 7 In, Exclusion, and parts of the Avoid number. After that, new EP from 7 Lions, and I think this one is the most I've enjoyed a multi-track collection from him in a fair while, a few years I think, and it's reminding me of what I love his style for most. Finding that true connection between the emotion, the melodic aspect of it, and the drops, which has been absent for me with his music in the recent past. You can really feel the power of it, I think. Some great vocals on show, different influences and genres as well. Not mind-blowing, but pretty good overall, and I think a breath of fresh air in the current dubstep climate, and even going beyond that, bass generally, yeah. Then, new EP from Swan, who you may know from a collaboration with Dubloads in the recent past, I think a couple of years ago. But here we have a true exhibition for me in how to approach underground industrial electronic music. Not loving all of it, track 3, Amazing, is quite threadbare production-wise, but all the ideas are so left field, different, and have a mad mix of sounds to them that I think it's quite difficult to put down. With elements of rave, trap, experimental, down-tempo, maybe halftime in there, bit of dubstep lobbed in. So much going on, and if you enjoy EPROM, G Jones, producers like that, then you will love The Gift of Light. Really solid bass house kind of EP here from one of my favourite producers at the moment, Thickia. More adventurous ideas from him, full production and well put together. Not sure any of them are up there with his best for me, but still a lot of good material, and I can imagine them all growing on me as well. So yeah, from this month, one of the biggest recommendations for sure. Okay, moving on, these Tokyo Machine remixes, which I think I expected a little bit more from on the ideas front. A load of great moments on show, and it's a fun compilation, no doubt about that. But no one song here that I love from start to finish, and again, I just return to the idea of it being a problem with remix compilations, you know, working to a very definite deadline. The invention stifled for just having to get it done. And you know, don't get me wrong, I want to give a favourite, but as I said, there isn't one I'm feeling front to back. Amazing moments for me though in the Eliminate, Panda Eyes, Chime, Pony and Initiate. And ultimately, now you know me, I love me a bit of Saruda. I've been raving about him for the last couple of years or so, but this project I don't find quite as on point. I still like it, no question about that. His general approach will always be engaging for me. I love the immersive feel of it. The way that it kind of becomes a part of you as you listen to it. But for me, not as many ideas to hang on to here, making it not as catchy as past stuff from him. More a collection of sounds than something with wow factor per se. But maybe I'm just getting used to his standard, his style, and it is a high standard to be fair. So yeah, don't get me wrong, I still do like it a fair bit. And finally, the new EP from 12th Planet. Production level, again, pretty decent, but the ideas I've just heard from every other Brostep or British producer, and that would have to be the same pretty much as the last EP from him as well. The one that caught my attention here would have to be The Hustle with Bandles. A good force to it and dynamic, very on its feet and alive and alert. A couple of sweet melodic moments here across the collection as well, introductions in particular, but not much else. Quite simplistic and I think reflective in a lot of ways of today's dubstep, and not really in a good way. But there we have it, the March 2020 edition of the monthly Extra Nawties Roundup. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. The special mentions from last month, absolutely loads again. Gonna put them up on the screen here for you all to see. Yep, have a little pause if you want to note them down or take a screenshot, anything like that. They're not in the description, so I recommend doing that if you can. But with regards to the EPs, albums, and compilations reviewed in this video, which ones did you enjoy, which others not so much? Are there any that I missed out? Let me know in the comments below. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know guys, so be sure, as always, to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Keep it naughty, extra naughties, and peace out.